Okay, I am here with Freddie Winter. It is almost Halloween here in California, as I'm sure it also is in Florida. Freddie, how are you, man? What's going on? You've had quite the year.
Yeah, no, I'm doing very well. I'm very, very better every day. Happier every day because I feel like every day I get closer to water skiing again, which is my big, has really been the big aim for the last 4 months.
So, your year started awesome. I know it was probably one of your lifetime goals to win Moomba, and that came true this year. So, do you have some words for how your season started? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, yeah, I was very happy. I put some work in start of this year and got the win at Moomba, which I was very happy about. Like, completed the old school big three, if you like. So having had two worlds, two masters, and now a Moomba, I'm very happy to have sort of completed the set. And then there afterwards, I went back to Florida, and I guess the next few tournaments sort of weren't stellar. Like I just missed out on the final at Masters due to some contentious circumstances. Not going to elaborate more on that. I didn't ski well at the Swiss Pro, and then did a couple of tournaments in Europe, or I guess Morocco as well, which I was actually weirdly. I mean, I think I've never come sixth and been so close to getting second, or I just fell at. That's probably one of the bigger regrets of my year, was falling at that buoy 3 there, blowing the tail, was because I really felt like I was in it and going big, but in the context of a whole season, you sort of don't see that so much. But like the fact that it was so close before I sort of had to finish my season, it was frustrating. So yeah, and then but very curtailed season. I think I did 6 tournaments, 3 podiums, so not including 1 win. So certainly not my best year percentage wise, but I was pretty excited to continue and to improve on those stats, and I really felt like I was getting somewhere good. So yeah, I mean, frustrating competitive wise this year, but at the same time, it's fuel for the fire, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on what I can do better for next year.
So it's not exactly news that Monaco was pretty catastrophic for a year, and frankly, I've thought about it and trying to figure out when an elite skier has had an injury as dramatic as yours in Monaco this year. I mean, I kind of I got to go way back and think all the way to Sammy Duvall and some hip injuries, and I think about Joel's ankle at Worlds, but breaking a femur, I really think it's maybe the most dramatic injury we've seen in elite skiing in memorable history. So you want to talk about how that happened and walk us through that.
Well, let me on your first point. I think it for sure a catastrophic injury and definitely very troubling. I mean, I looked down and saw my leg in visibly sort of the bone was in 2 pieces. That was a shame, but I think also very fortunate that actually I got hit where I did. I mean, to anyone that hasn't heard about it, like I lost control from 4 to 5, and I think what's quite funny, I was reflecting on it even today, just like actually, as I try and get more and more back into shape, I think that the fact that I was in really good shape contributed to me to the extent of that crash. Because if I'd have been in worse shape, if I hadn't been as strong, I've been getting my whole body in as good a condition as possible. If I hadn't been as balanced or whatever as I was, I wouldn't have been able to hold on so long, which would have meant that I would have fallen earlier and wouldn't have taken the huge swing across that it led to me hitting a dock at speed, 60 feet outside of the slalom course, which I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I don't think I've ever been so fast out of a slalom, outside of a slalom course, and for there to be a dock exactly in my trajectory was pretty unfortunate. So I mean, yeah, broke my femur on impact, which took a minute or 2 to kind of to understand. It didn't hurt very much at the time. So from there it was immediate understanding of not even, oh my god, I broke my leg, it's oh my god, my season's over, and all that hard work and all that that all of my aims and I remember the last big injury that I saw with my eyes was Jarrett Llewellyn at the World Championships in 2015, and that crossed my mind, and because I know that he had like external sort of scaffolding outside of his leg, to kind of, shore it all up. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, tomorrow I'm going to look like a briefcase with a handle on me. I was not all that excited. But no, I mean, I think that being hit where I did, I mean, I was, I'll always say this, I was very, very, very unlucky to hit the dock, very lucky that I hit the dock where I did, because if it was my head, I'd be dead, brain dead, whatever you like, certainly no good. My neck probably paralyzed, internal bleeding in my rib, if it hit my rib cage. And so actually, in terms of like, my aim since that very moment was to get back to water skiing and be as good or better than I was before. I've not reached I never felt like I reached my peak. I always thought that I had more in me. Still think that. So to be able to hit my leg, legs repair, like bones repair. Now if I'd have hit my knee and done all my ligaments or my ankle or my hip bone or all these sorts of things, these come with very, very long-term issues. I'm not saying I won't have any long-term issues. We're in, not say early days, but sort of that understanding of where I'm going to end up at, when I start trying to ski in January and February to a higher level. Don't know quite what that's going to look like, but I mean, from what I understand and what the physio and the surgeon that I'm seeing, what they're telling me is that everything will come back very, very well. And yeah, there's going to be a couple of weird bits, but there's nothing to say I can't be very, very, very competitive and as good as I was or better. I hope.
I'm sure. So is the consensus that it was really just, I mean, statistically unlikely that somebody would ever hit that dock? I mean, I know that if there was some padding there, maybe it would be better, and maybe it shouldn't have been there, but really, somebody could have skied there for another 100 years and never had your injury. Is that where you fall?
This is a lake where there's been a world championships. I think Rockbroon was 95, and there's been so many tournaments there. I think it, I don't want to sound like I think there's very few water skiers that could have had that much speed outside of the course. If that makes sense. I mean, like I'm thinking, I do turn pretty hard and I hold on to things, and I'm thinking of like a Pigozzi, or someone that just rips and takes hits, and a Caldwell, for example. I mean, you probably categorize the three of us in something like that. Like, we're known for kind of having these big turns and big leans. So I don't think I did anything wrong. I just tried to hold on and tried to not fall, and that's what I do. And I it wasn't like I did anything crazy. I had John Travers told me the other day, like after the King of Darkness, he's like I think you didn't do anything wrong. It was just an unfortunate thing. At the same time, I don't blame the site, because yeah, the dock is there, but I ski at other places year round where there's docks that are closer, or the same or closer. The place where I grew up skiing in England has a dock that's as close. It's definitely unfortunate, but I think that there's a few things had to line up for it to happen. Yes, I mean, probably a little bit of padding on the dock would be good from now on, but I don't think anyone was sitting there going, okay, that's a potential hazard.
Okay. Well. So moving on, tell us about recovery, right? I mean, this is kind of human interesty question. I mean, obviously it's heartbreaking. Everybody knows. I shouldn't say knows. Everybody can imagine the level of frustration. But tell us about the process of the PT and everything you're doing going forward. I know. I heard that there was an issue with where they inserted the rod. So can you tell us about all that?
Yeah. So I mean, that was the kind of thing. So I mean, got taken out of the water, taken to hospital, had surgery that night, and from there it's like, okay, everything's up from there. That's what I was told, right? Everything's good, we move forward. And then unfortunately over the next number of weeks there was a couple of things that sort of issues that came to be discovered, I guess. Like the rod had been put in slightly off center, so it had split the bone sort of at the top, causing a sort of a break in the middle where I'd hit it on the dock, and then a break at the top going down in a sort of upside down T shape. Not great. Then that took a couple of weeks. I was in so much pain, and they were telling me, no, you'll be fine. You should put some pressure on it. And I'm like, literally, if you put $1 million one step away from me, like, even with crutches, to put 1 pound of pressure through my leg was impossible, not even inconceivable. So, that was unfortunate. And then we had got back to England finally after a month. I couldn't get back to England. My parents came to pick me up from France, where I've been staying, and had my legs measured, and so my right leg is 15 degrees more inverted than my left. I've got a pigeon toe. I've always been slightly pigeon toed, but I've got even more of a pigeon toe now. They would normally fix that, but then they couldn't because the top of the leg was so fragile still, with it being kind of broken that up and down split way. So definitely.
Okay, hold on. I gotta stop you there. So this, you broke your back leg?
Front leg.
You broke your front leg. So your front leg and your right foot forward. So you're canted in 15 degrees?
Yeah, 15 degrees. Which is
I don't even know what that.
So basically, obviously the leg was apart, and he had to put it on, with my foot facing a certain way, and according to the measurements of my hip bones relative to my knees, the right leg is 15 degrees more inverted than the left. So at the same time, I talked to Jamie Bull at one of the tournaments before, and she was I mentioned that to her, and she's like, oh well, I'm really pigeon toed, and I'm like, well great, I'll take your offside. I'm good, that's going to help me, so I'm only going to be better from here on out.
Yeah, I'm conflicted, and in reality, I assume that it's not going to be an issue and it's fine. But part of me is like, how can we go down the rabbit hole of what this is going to do? Are you going to have to cant your findings? Are you going to do crazy stuff? Is it going to give you this magic offside? What's it going to do?
There's no doubt I'm going to have a better offside. That's the way I'm looking at it. It could be worse, it could be better, but it also I feel like I'm a good enough skier to work around it, I hope, and even if it is for the worst, and there's other stuff I can do. I've been a good skier. I don't think I've reached perfection, not even anywhere close. So I've got more in me in other areas. And as my physio said, is that this is only one part of my body. Okay, it's an important one. My leg is very important, but I can get more strength in other areas, so I can move forward. I know that this might sound like ridiculously stupid optimism, but it is honestly, it's from the heart. I mean, I'm genuinely excited. It's like, we all try new skis. Right, new skis. This is going to be more fun, right? Now when you try a new ski, you can kind of always go back to your old ski. Well, I don't have that option, but I've got a new pathway, and I'm excited to see how it goes. And I tell you what, when I run that first 39, I'm going to be over the moon, and when I run that first 41, I'm going to be over the moon. When I get on the podium, and when I win, I'll, if I don't burst into tears, I'd be surprised. So there's a lot of stuff going forward, but it's really motivating me more than I've rarely been as motivated, I have to say. I've been as up there with anyone in the world in terms of my desire to go and win water ski tournaments. But I've mentioned before somewhere else that this is a completely new journey, because I'm coming back from such a low point, and it's a completely different journey because I've got to come around the other side of the mountain from a lower point and get to the top, right? It's a different, my previous pathway that I always had was pretty linear. It was eat well, get strong, get in the gym, ski, whatever. And now I got to kind of go, right, well, I've got this whole extra variable, but I'm doing everything I can to go and be better than I was. And I mean, that may never happen, but I would be surprised. I think I'm going to be right back up there as if nothing had happened.
Okay, so it's Halloween 2024, basically November 1st. Where are you now? What is your condition?
So physically, I'm in Palm Bay, Florida, getting ready to commentate on the Miami Pro this weekend, as I've been doing. My unpaid job as a commentator has been keeping me very interested in, and it's been quite good fun, perversely, as much as I sort of hated watching everyone go out and do well without me being able to affect it. It's been quite good fun. But no, I mean, yeah, right now, in terms of, I've actually had quite an exciting few days, just personally, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but I'm a supposed high level athlete, but I'm very excited because I can do a sort of half single leg squat. I can stand on one leg and get my hip down to maybe, I can probably drop it by, I don't know, 10 inches or maybe 8 inches or whatever, but that's huge, because I mean, from where I've come from, where I really couldn't put any pressure on. I mean, it's only been about 3 weeks since I've been able to stand on one leg without falling over. Putting my shorts and underwear on in the morning, I've had to be holding on to something while I do that. So now I can, and previously I had to sit on the bed, and so now I can sort of do all that. And so it's just, little things that like that are keeping me excited, and I know that I'm going to be able to keep, doing those little squats, and I can. Last night I finally, again, ridiculous that this is so made me so happy, but I finally did a side plank, with my, like, on my side with my left leg not touching my right foot, right? So just fully balanced on my right leg and using those muscles down the right side of me. So that's, I'm coming back, and so I suddenly feel like I can actually, like, oh, I'm going to be athletic again. I played pickleball last week for 2 hours. Not very well. I was, my partner was doing all the running, but I still felt athletic. And by the way, we won 7-0 against these two guys. So I was back to winning ways in some respects. So no, I mean, it is a really good, and yourself, John, like, water skiing is the most frustrating thing in the world, and trying to improve at water skiing. So I always try and find stuff on the side that I can improve at, like, even if it's just, playing pickleball and getting a bit better at that, or squash, or tennis, or learning to juggle, or unicycle, or just do things that are going to help me, like, feel like I'm improving at something while I don't necessarily improve at water skiing. And that often, just that little balance keeps me kind of, less frustrated, right? So this, I'm just enjoying the improvement, and my body's getting stronger every day. I just feel like I can do more, and it's compared, in some ways I've been conditioned to not expect a lot of improvement from my water skiing. Right. As you know, the probably for me the best 2 weeks of skiing of the year is like the first 2 weeks, because you've got no expectation, and you run your mediumly hard pass from the previous year, and you're like, I'm back, and then the improvement stops, and you go, what's going on? I'm doing everything I can. So right. I'm pretty happy, and I'm pretty excited. I think I'm, I feel somewhat athletic again after a long time of not being.
So how many hours a day is literally PT?
It's not a ton. I mean, I've got a bunch of exercises to do, but I can't do too much of it. I mean, if you can only go to exhaustion. What I can say that there's a lot of hours. I'm preparing a lot of very good food. I'm taking a lot of calcium going in my body, a lot of protein, all that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm still weak. So, if I do too much, then it's actually going to cause more damage than or not damage, but it's not going to have the benefit. So I'm, that's going to come. And I mean, like, at the start, up until a month ago, I was basically told, just do a little bit of biking and, kind of get the muscles activated, and then it's like a bit more and more and more. So I mean, I'm probably doing, in terms of like dedicated stuff for my leg, just maybe an hour or two a day, but then I'm walking around a lot, just getting those little muscles back, and standing on an indo board or whatever it is, just to get the balance back. Because I mean, the weird thing for me is, like, I have no balance on my right leg, which is just those little muscles in your leg. They're not, which we take for granted. So I stand on my left leg, and I can stand there for ages. And my right leg, I have to, like, really think for like a minute, and then I can get my balance. But it's not quick.
And so there must be some goofy things. Like, I mean, you've devoted so much of your life to skiing for so many years. What else are you doing with your time that's not athletic? I mean, I joked with you before we went online. Are you catching up on Downton Abbey? Are you reading novels? What are you doing? What's fun?
It's funny because I like reading, but I've just found that I don't enjoy reading at the moment for some reason. It's like it's because I've been sitting down for so long. When I sit down to read, it's like I'm just. But I have, like, this week I learned killer Sudoku, like it's like the sort of different type of version of Sudoku. I'm not very good at it, but just little things like that. I'm probably too much Instagram. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm going for walks. I feel very happy to be able to walk down the street and not sort of, rely on crutches and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm writing, putting together some stuff for the Water Ski Journal that Greg Desfond, and written a bunch of articles for that. Been working on some stuff for the Water Ski Pro Tour, trying to help with that. So yeah, I mean, I'm staying busy.
Excellent. So speaking of Water Ski Pro Tour, and again, I know that it kills you probably to watch and not be, like, in the middle of it. But let's talk about this as a commentator or as a industry person. How do you feel about the state of pro water skiing and what's happened in the last year or so?
I mean, I think it's, like you say, it's a true bummer not to be a part of it. But I mean, what it's been a great season on the tour. I mean, if you just look at the organizational standpoint of it, I mean, the tournaments we went to Africa this year for the first time with Morocco. It was an amazing tournament. I'm so glad I got hurt after that, not before it. I would have been sad to have missed out on that. And then, we had the King of Darkness this weekend, which was spectacular. I was sitting in the booth, and there was a huge energy. I mean, this is a phenomenal event to see all these people turn up, and it just really feels very special. We've got, I think there's 11 tournaments in the tour this year, and a couple outside that don't feel like being a part of it for frustrating and unfortunate and confusing reasons, but whatever. But no, it's really good. And then, I mean, on the water, and that, so a lot of prize money on offer, a lot of tournaments, and a lot of great webcasts, right? I mean, I know that a lot of your, a lot of the ballers, a lot of your readers and commenters are, dedicated to watching every weekend. And I get texts all the time, like, oh, I'm so excited to watch this weekend. And, we're going to go to Miami and for the last tournament of the year. And there's been a ton this year. So that's all really good. On the water, it's been pretty great. I mean, there's been 7 winners or something, and Lucas Cornell won at 18 or 19, and it's been really split. Like, if you look at the numbers of wins, Will's, I mean, I'm just talking about my division, of course, selfishly, but Will's won 3 or maybe 4, and then Nate's won 2, and apart from that, no one's won. Oh, Rob has won 2, and then there's a bunch of single digit wins, but like 5 of them or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's been a really good year. I mean, water skiing, it's very exciting. There's Joel Poland's doing amazingly, and I think this is, I always say it, but this is, God, when I was a little nerdy 11-year-old or 15-year-old trying to consume as much water ski content as you can, like I would sort of I would be sent to on Bluetooth on my phone like a video of Chris Rossi running 11. I'd like watch it 1,000 times, right? Well, now you can watch everybody in the world online live. You got all the podcasts, you got this sort of stuff. You got all the Instagram accounts. You got Water Ski Journal. I mean, it's just this is the time to be a water ski fan, and I long may it continue. I just feel like the momentum's coming along.
So that's interesting. Again, as a fan, since you've had to sit on the side of the lake, who makes you really sit up and watch? Who's on the water this season? And you're like, that's interesting the way they're staying.
Well, I mean, in terms of the guy that I think I'm the most impressed with, it's Joel Poland. I mean, which is not an original answer, but it's because it's true. I mean, he is, we were texting the other day and you were saying how good he looks, and I agree. I mean, I think he does a hell of a job on a slalom ski, which is, for a guy that's about 5'2". No, I'm kidding. He's probably 5'10". I don't know, but he does a really good job on a slalom ski, and he's winning jump tournaments and winning them convincingly. And then he's right in so he's kind of our superstar, isn't he? But in terms of like the since I've been sitting and watching, I mean, obviously we were all really impressed with Lucas Cornell. He did an incredible job at the Travis Grand Prix. What a sort of breakthrough moment. And I think that sort of made me nervous. They've got another guy who's really, really good to beat. In the next few years, before he probably ends up him and Charlie Ross go and win everything. Yeah, I mean, it's just been a great year. I mean, we've got the women. I mean, the women's division is better than it's ever been. We've got Jamie, Regina, and Whitney running 39 every single round, and you got Manon and Ali Nicholson, nipping at their heels. And I don't want to sound anyone that knows me would say I'm not a hopeless optimist. I'm definitely a realist, but I do think that in this area, it's so good, and I think that we've got such a product right now, and I think that the thing that I'm continuously amazed by and so sort of grateful for is that we have TWBC. I think that's the most important thing in the sport, much more than any federation or any I don't know, politician or any one event organizer. Like, we're very grateful for all the organizers, and they make the sport possible for us. But I think that TWBC has brought in so many organizers to the sport because people are like, oh, we can have all the best guys come to our lake and be shown worldwide, and this is the only way we're going to get the sport to go. We're not going to get it back to the mainstream, but like to get it more mainstream. It's a phenomenal product, and that's why I like to, my own little way to support it, turn up and hopefully offer a little bit of insight, because I think that this is the way forward.
Yeah, we all owe Vince and Tony and all those guys everything, right? I mean, I think the sport is so much better for them. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a huge fan. So I think I heard you say that you're going to be at Moomba this year.
Yeah, that was my first post. I was given my phone when I was in the hospital while I was waiting for surgery, and I put a little pic because I was getting a lot of text from people, are you okay? We heard you died, all this sort of thing. So I put an Instagram story up saying, hurt myself, but getting ready for Moomba 25, and that's got to be the goal. My parents have kind of said to me, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. Like maybe it's a bit soon. And I've had, Manon told me the same thing, and Drew Ross, who's such a ballsy guy, he goes to me, he's like, I heard you're going to Moomba. Yeah, I guess you're mad enough to do it. And I'm like, yeah, well, right. But at the same time, I'm going to go only based on what the surgeon. I'm seeing a very, very high level surgeon in the UK. Of course, I had surgery in France, which didn't go so well. And since I'm in very good hands since I got back to the UK, he's just looking after the progress and making sure that how strong my leg is, all that sort of stuff. So I've got to get, my job in the next 2 months and 10 days is to get as strong as I have ever been. I said to myself the day that I crashed that the next time I would ski, I'll be stronger and in better shape than I ever have been in my life. That will be true. My plan is to ski January 10th. I've been told I'm allowed to ski January 1st. I'm just not going to come back that early from England. If I can start January 10th and start moving through, I think as long as the surgeon says that I can start, he said I'm going to have to start easy. That's fine. So hopefully that'll allow me to start going to 38 off sometime start of February, and then move to 39s, and then and see about 41s. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I know myself. Like, I need to have something. I need to have a carrot to move towards. And if I'm to look at my next tournament being, May 9th at the Swiss Pro, I'm just going to sit on the couch and get fat and be miserable. So like to have an aim, and maybe Moomba will be ambitious to think I can win it, but at the same time, as long as my legs strong enough and I get that sort of ticked off that I can push it after, sort of from mid-February, start going a little harder. This year I arrived, my first ski set was the 17th of January. I was out of shape. I was fat. I'd been drinking for 2.5 months, and I, had a bit of a sore back and all sorts of stuff. I wasn't in my best condition, and I was able to win Moomba, and I won the first round by 5 boys, and in the final I did what I had to do. So I mean, I'm not saying that will necessarily happen again, but I think that if I'm in good shape, I can go and do well at Moomba. And even if I go there, I've got my flight booked already. Even if I go there and I run 2 passes, I run 32, 35, or even 28, 32, then the investment of all that money and energy will be worth it, because it will have got me motivated to be very, very set myself up for success. And even if I don't have success there, then I'll be in much better shape, having gone through that process for May, when I really want to go and win the Swiss Pro Slalom, and then do all that stuff.
Well, as somebody who wants to see you succeed, I'm tempted to say, man, be careful, don't rush back into it. I know you better than that, so I guess we'll watch you at Moomba.
Well, anyone that's been around me, while I'm training, I'm very, very body conscious. I don't push myself like past an injury. Like, I mean, if I'm a bit sore or tired, I'll still ski. But if my, I'm only going to do what I'm told is safe. And so I'm not an idiot. I'm actually very sensible in certain areas, and that's one area that I'm very sensible in, and I'm only going to do what I'm allowed to do. I'm not going to, if the physio says to me, hey, you need to go easy, if the pain's too much, you got to stop, then I'll stop. At the same time, I still feel like I can run 32 off on the 10th of March. So that's still my aim.
Amazing. I'm guessing you probably don't want to spend a lot of time talking about my last question, which is, are we in the golden age of men's elite tricks? So unless you want to go into that,
trust me, I think we are, and I love it. I mean, I gave my I turned up to the Swiss Pro Tricks in late April, and I was there not commentating, like holding the microphone and doing some interviews with these guys. And I think that again, there's not this. It's so cool that it's another aspect to the sport. We've got in slalom, it's kind of more of a mature field. The dominant skiers of the last number of years has been Nate, who's in his 30s, Will, who's in his 40s, Thomas in his 40s, and I've been doing all right in my 30s. Whitney 30s, Regina high 30s. So then you look at the tricks. Men and women, but I mean especially the men's, and they're so 16-year-olds winning pro. I mean Matty Gonzalez won the Swiss Pro Tricks and the Monaco slalom at the Monaco Pro Trick tournament, it's great. And I think that the thing I will say though, being a bit more negative, is that we have, unfortunately for the trickers, all these young guys, is that we have. Their season goes Moomba, March 10th or whatever. Then they have the Swiss Pro Tricks, which is an edition, which is great. That's April, 24th. Then there's Masters, which is, I don't know, late May. Then there's the Monaco that happened like late June. Then they have the Botas Spain thing in end of June. That's it. That's their season.
Yeah. And I think Cal Pro is going to add tricks this year.
Oh, well, that's really cool. Well, good.
Yeah.
But I mean, that until we can have a season that is actually a season as opposed to a couple of months, they're going to be doing all this nonsense like chasing world records and all this stuff that doesn't help the sport in the slightest. I mean, I'm sorry, but you see someone post about getting a world record on Instagram that doesn't benefit anyone in the sport. It's it's got to be the only thing that's going to help water skiing grow is putting something on live in front of people, to where people can experience it, get excited about it, get emotional about it, and invest in it. That doesn't come from an Instagram post, really. So I think that the opportunity we have now, and I mean, if you go back 3 years, there was only really 2 tournaments. There was Masters and Moomba, and then your World. So there are tournaments growing, and that's great. But I think that what's happened in men's slalom and women's slalom over the last number of years, we've gone from people caring about what score they get, on where they are positioned on the IWF World Ranking List. Now I can tell you that is completely irrelevant. And if the 7th best skier in the world by the Water Ski Pro Tour list, or the guy that kind of breaks into the top 6 or 7, on a pro tournament, if he goes and gets 2 at 43, no one cares. Everyone laughs at him. So. This is a good situation where competitive, placement one against another, who beats who, is much more important than what score people get. That's what needs to happen in tricks, and I think that and we're getting there, which is great.
Kind of going down a rabbit hole here. You and I had a text conversation last week or so about kind of the subject. If you were in charge of amateur skiing, would you pull us away from age groups and try to group everybody differently until it was more of like a ability-based thing?
Oh no, without a doubt. And I remember, like I will always remember this. I think it's such a shame it doesn't happen anymore. When in England, it used to be that way. It was only once this sort of record tournament thing came along that we were suddenly started being categorized by age. But before that, you skied in your division. Now, division, you had to get a certain score and you'd be in that division. So you start off in, I don't know, division 4, and if you ran, I don't know, 2 at 22 off, then you'd go into division 3, and then whatever, and going up and up and up. So my second season, I was trying to break into division 3 or whatever it was, and I was grouped. I was 11 years old, and I had 3 like big rivals. One of them was 50. One of them was 35, and one of them was 28. And we'd be on the dock with each other, and we would be like, shit talking each other. We'd be, and like they loved it. I loved it. Like it was so fun, and they'd like, oh my god, I got beaten by that little 5-year-old again or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, you're so old. I don't know how you couldn't even put your shorts on to go ski. And like it was great. So the problem, I think, I really feel strongly about this. That I think that the way that we've ended up. A competition is not a competition, as we all know. It's a trial. You're just trying to go and get your own best score. So if you enter, if you spend your $5,000 to enter 30 rounds of tournament in a year, and you run a PB one time and you tie it twice, and then you get like within a buoy of it like 3 times, right? You're happy 6 times in the whole year. Like, or let's say you're acceptable. You find it acceptable 3 times, and you're happy 3 times in a year. Okay, so that means that 26 times or 24 times you're going to be upset. So then the next year you go, I don't want to do it anymore. This is stupid. I'm going to decrease my investment of time and money. If you had a situation where you had your 5 guys that you were skiing with, and you decided, hey, like I'm with my buddies, I'm going to go and enter all these tournaments, and then not everyone has to turn up every time, but like if you beat the rest of the field 6 times, you come second a few more times, you're going to be happy about half the time if they're all about the same level as you. So that means that you're more motivated to enter more tournaments the next year. And I think that this is the way it should go. It's a disaster to put people. When I was growing up, when this record thing started happening, and I was one of the better skiers, when in the under 17s, under 21s, and so it would be like me running, I don't know, something at 39 or whatever, and then the next best guy in the division was a guy that was running like 2 at 14 or 2 at 28 off, and there was no that guy wasn't going to beat me, and I wasn't going to lose to him, and so it was cool that they were there, but like it would have been better if if I'd have been skiing against like the guys that were more of my level throughout the other divisions. And so yeah, I think going forward, having people grouped by ability versus age is the only thing that can save competitive water skiing, which is getting less and less entries every year, and I think that it'd be worth figuring out how that can happen, because ultimately, in a record tournament, even if you get your best score, like, why do we care about where you rank in the world when you're like down, in the 60, 80, 120 plus, when you can be trying to beat the guys that are around you, which you actually have a relationship with? It doesn't matter if you're beating a guy from South Africa who you don't know. You should try and beat the guys around you, and that's fun. That's what that's what like competitive sports about. Like on tennis, you beat the guy on the other side of the net. In team sports, that's how it is. So I don't see why we're trying to do it this way. I think we're the only sport trying to do it in this way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it'd be super hard to change our culture, but we can. Phone's ringing.
Sorry.
Need to get that. It's not mom.
Very unimportant.
All right, man. Well, this has been pretty wide-ranging. I don't know what else we need to talk about here this morning. You got anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, how are you skiing?
So bad. It just got cold here, and I'm so demotivated, and I think I'm ready to crawl under a blanket for a couple of months. I've kind of had it, but
well, it's that time of year. I mean, it'll be November tomorrow, or November in a couple of days, so you'll be okay. It's time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ski enough so I don't lose all my fitness and maybe trick a little bit, and
Well, I can tell you that taking 4 months off doesn't do much for your fitness. I mean, I keep looking in the mirror and I look a very different shape to what I did a few months ago. It's a bit upsetting, but I'll get
You'll come back. You'll come back, man. I have faith. All right. Well, hey, this has been fun. I'm going to close this out. Freddie Winter, thank you so much. And for everybody watching, thank you so much. And we're out.
Thanks, mate.